There was a time when children learned everything without classrooms, blackboards, or printed books. In hidden valleys and forest villages, knowledge wasn't something written, it was lived. The elders didn't give lectures, they gave moments, stories, rituals, and rhythms. A child's school was the land itself, and their teachers were the trees, rivers, fire, animals, and the silent hands of those who had walked the path before them. So how did they teach children back then? What did a day of learning look like? Let's go back in time and find out. At sunrise, learning began, not with bells, but with birdsong and barefoot steps into the forest. A young boy would follow his grandfather into the woods not to play, but to observe. He wouldn't be asked to memorize pages or pass a test. His lessons were woven into the fabric of daily life. One day, his grandfather would stop and carefully step over a fallen branch. Pointing to the break, he would show the boy how to listen to leaves crunch beneath careful feet. This wasn't just a game. It was learning to read the language of the forest, understanding that every snap, every rustle had a story to tell. After all, the forest, too, was a teacher. Its wisdom was written in every leaf, every root, every soaring tree. If you know how to read this language, it can guide you, protect you. As the boy watched intently, trying to match his grandfather's quiet steps, he was also memorizing the rhythm of survival. It wasn't about filling his mind with facts, but with skills. And sometimes these skills weren't about what to do, but what not to do. As they walked deeper into the woods, his grandfather would pause by certain plants, carefully noting the thorns and the stinging hairs. "These are our teachers," he would say, "who remind us to be cautious." Then he would point to others, and these are our helpers, who offer their gifts if we know how to ask. With each step, the boy absorbed these lessons, weaving them into the tapestry of his understanding. This wasn't just a walk in the woods. It was a master class in nature's wisdom. When they reached a clearing, his grandfather would stop to gather herbs and roots. The boy, though small, would watch intently as his grandfather sorted through them, discarding some, examining others. Each action was a lesson in itself, each herb a story waiting to be understood. The grandfather wasn't just foraging for food, he was deciphering nature's pharmacy. Recognizing the healing properties of each plant, its uses, and its limits. As he carefully crushed a leaf or stirred a potion, he was sharing not just knowledge, but a deep respect for the natural world. This was learning at its purest, direct, experiential, and deeply rooted in the natural world. It was education without textbooks, a lesson plan set by nature itself. After gathering what they needed, they would return home, carrying with them more than just food, but the essence of the forest. Back in the warmth of their home, the boy would sit beside his grandfather as he prepared their evening meal. While the soup simmered, filling the small house with its earthy aroma, the grandfather would pull out a flute. As the melody filled the room, the boy would sway to the rhythm, not realizing that he was learning about his heritage, about celebrations and sorrows, victories and dreams, all through the music. This wasn't just entertainment. It was a cultural primer, a history lesson set to notes that echoed through generations. In the evenings, after the chores were done and the moon had climbed high in the sky, the boy would sit around a fire with his village mates. The flickering flames danced in their eyes as they listened to stories that had been whispered around this very fire for countless years. Tales of bravery, love, and loss, of heroes and villains, of mythical creatures and ancient wisdom. These stories weren't just for entertainment. They were a form of education, a way to transmit culture, values, and history from one generation to the next. Each story was a seed planted in their young minds, taking root and growing into the fabric of their beliefs and behaviors. The crackling fire wasn't just a source of warmth, it was a beacon of knowledge, illuminating the path for those who sat around it. The spoken word was their textbook, the shared experience their classroom. As the night deepened and the stars twinkled above, these children learned about life, about their world, and about themselves, all from the comfort of their village and the magic of storytelling. They didn't memorize facts or formulas. They memorized ways of life. They didn't take exams. They took part in community activities where their skills were tested through real-life situations. If a boy wanted to become a hunter, he didn't study for a hunting exam. He shadowed the village's hunters, learning the skills, the patience, and the respect for the prey. If a girl wished to be a healer, she didn't take a medical exam. She assisted the village healer, observing, asking questions, and practicing under guidance. Failure wasn't seen as a bad thing. It was a stepping stone to success. If a boy missed a mark with his first arrow, it was a lesson in balance, a chance to adjust and learn. If a girl mixed up the ingredients while making medicine, it was a reminder to be more precise, to listen more closely, and to be humble in the face of nature's complexity. Mistakes weren't punished. They were understood as part of the learning process, a necessary step towards mastery. The goal wasn't just to get it right the first time. It was about growth, understanding, and becoming competent members of their community. But perhaps the most valuable lesson they learned was the value of observation. The world around them was their classroom, their textbook, and their playground. They weren't just taught to observe, they were taught to listen, to touch, to smell, and to taste. They learned to understand the whispers of the wind, the language of birds, the texture of leaves, and the taste of wild berries. Every detail mattered. Every observation contributed to their understanding of the world. They learned to read the signs, to predict the weather, to navigate by the stars, to heal with herbs, and to hunt with precision. Their knowledge wasn't confined to classrooms or lectures. It was as vast and intricate as the world itself. And this brings us to one of the most important aspects of their learning environment. They were never separated from their communities. They didn't attend institutions called schools. They learned within their families, within their villages, and within their natural surroundings. They were part of the community, not isolated from it. Their learning wasn't just about acquiring knowledge. It was about becoming contributing members of their society, understanding their roles and responsibilities, respecting their elders, caring for the sick, and protecting the weak. Their education wasn't a means to get ahead. It was a way to fit in, to contribute, and to carry on traditions that had been passed down for generations. What's most powerful is this: those children grew into adults who never forgot. The knowledge stayed with them, not for grades, but for life. In a world without paper, nothing was ever lost. It lived in gestures, in choices, in silence. It was carried in the way a mother placed leaves under her child's head to keep them cool during a fever, in the way an elder pointed at the stars and whispered warnings only the night could explain. So what can we learn from them? How can we, in this age of technology and instant access to information, rekindle the spirit of learning that has been lost somewhere along the way? Maybe it's time to shift from rote memorization to experiential learning. From classrooms to real-life experiences, from lectures to discussions, from textbooks to mentors. Maybe it's time to remember that the most profound lessons aren't written in books, but in the rhythms of nature, in the stories of our ancestors, and in the everyday occurrences that shape our lives. Perhaps the forgotten path to true learning is not about acquiring more knowledge, but about rediscovering the joy, curiosity, and wonder that comes from engaging with the world around us. Thank you for watching. At the end of the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, The Forgotten Path, for more powerful stories from ancient times and hidden wisdom the modern world left behind.